All right. Looks like my audio is on this time, and I should be live. We will see. The way my day has been going. Oh, hey, Doug. Glad you could make it. Um, 2 seconds. I'm still gonna post one more link here, and then I will focus on what I'm doing here because honestly. So Fridays are crazy for me. And I'm keeping the live stream on Fridays because it seems to be the best of the options. Wednesdays aren't good for a lot of people, and Monday's not really good for me because I tend to be tired on Mondays. Um, Not that I'm not tired on Fridays, because I'll get to that. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear me, Ben. Um, Yeah, I don't know how I hit the mute button last time, but I did. So, um, yeah. No. Happy weekend, everybody. Just to tell you how my day's been going, I have some of this in my beverage of choice for this evening. And I don't actually drink all that often. I had seen a review of this saying it had a really nice cherry flavor, so I thought I would try it. And then the day went the way that it went. So right at the moment, I have got myself a. I'm not going to say it's a rum and coke because it's not. It's a rum and Dr Pepper. Okay, Mom. I'm glad you're here. Love to Juniper. Um, yeah. So about Fridays. Fridays I get off early from work because I work nines and then I do a half day on Friday, which is nice because it gives me a jump start on the weekend. In theory. The reality has become that for whatever reason, Fridays are shopping day now. Probably because I'm available. Um, and so, well, now that the boy's got his license, did I tell you guys that? Did that happen this week? I'm not sure. The boy has his license, if I didn't say that before. Um, I think that was this week. That was Tuesday. He passed first try, no problems. He's been driving himself to school ever since. I don't know if he had a class Tuesday night, but anyhow, driving himself to school all week and doing really good. He was using my truck, but we'll get back to that too. Um, so yeah, it's been a busy week just in general because oh, good. I'm so glad Juniper's doing a bit better. And yeah, no, Johan has been driving on his learner's permit with an adult for about a year. So we were fairly confident in his driving abilities. And he had been putting it off because we'd told him he was going to be responsible for his um, auto insurance, just like the girls were when they started driving. And he finally decided that with school and work, he could manage the auto insurance and he kind of needed his license. Um, so, and that was a pleasant surprise too, because his insurance is only going to run him about 125 a month. So he's pretty pleased about that. That was, um, yeah, I know. It's not the roads you have to worry about, Jim. It's the sidewalks. So, that was good this weekend, and then we launched the hunting anthology, which went off without a hitch. The I usually expect when I submit files for publication, especially when we're talking about paper files, for paperback files. Hey there. Um, I expect them to get kicked back to me and have the gutters aren't right or the margins or something. There's always something. I download cover templates from Amazon and format on their templates, and they'll kick it back to me as being wrong, which is annoying. Oh, excellent, Ben. Thank you. Um, so yeah, the hunting anthology actually came out early because the files went through without a hitch. I had kicked it into publishing mode a little early because I expected it to have issues. I've had print copies take upwards of a week to go through without catching something. And the funny thing is, years ago when it was Create Space, I actually had more than once where I submitted the same set of files and a different reviewer didn't have an issue with it and it flew right through. So, but so yeah, no, we had the hunting anthology got kicked out, and right away, I mean, like as soon as the ratings started showing, the anthology had orange tags for best new releases, which is usually you kind of have to work at that a little bit, but it launched high and it's staying high. We are actually at this point number one bestseller, not just best new release, but bestseller in sports humor, which I am super excited about because this means that the authors that took a chance on this anthology are seeing that it is doing really, really well. Yeah, Jim is telling me it's number one in sports humor still. It's number two in nature and ecology. Now, if we get number one in nature and ecology, I am gonna just like, because it's a hunting anthology. Uh, and right now, the nature and ecology books, if you go look at the ones that aren't like random fiction, because Amazon's bots are either drunk or high, but the so if we get number one in nature and ecology, because everything else in there is like super environmentalist stuff, um, that I'll be pretty excited about that. And then I think it's number eight in outdoors and nature sports right now, which is a tough category. There's some other good books that are actually up there, but we've also, like the hunting and fishing category, we were being beat out by some manga novels because Amazon's algorithms are drunk. Um, Speaking of which, that's not bad. I can see the cherry. I can tell the cherry's there. It's pretty smooth. It's actually kind of nice. For those of you that came in late, I am having an adult beverage, rum and and Dr. Pepper, because it's been a day. I'm not gonna get sloshed, but I'm just like, I need to take a breath. um, so it's been a fantastic week. I mean, I had work, I had a little kerfluffle of, oh my God, something's wrong. But then it turns out that wasn't a problem, even though I had an anxious night over that and threw my sleep schedule off because I'm me and I get overly anxious about stuff. Um, I have an essay brewing on that one, uh, and I'm chewing on that. If I actually have time at some point, I will sit down and write that one up. Um, Oof, Dawn, that's no fun at all. I have done those, and that is no fun at all. That's yeah, no, that sucks. And enjoy the relaxation where you can get it. Um, so Fridays, the reason they're super hectic is because they've become my shopping day, and I run around and do get groceries and whatever else needs to be done. And right now, I am preparing for an actual garden. I'm really excited about the fact that I have been waiting because when we bought the house, it was too late in the spring to put in a garden, and I knew it was going to get hot. I didn't expect just how hot for how long, but these things do happen in Texas. So it wasn't entirely unexpected, and I was more focused on the inside of the house, which those of you that are looking at the screen can see behind me. That's not done either, but we'll get it eventually. Give us a year or three. Um, so I hadn't done anything with the garden. I was like, we got some plants in containers. Most of those have died because Texas, and even with watering every day, it was just too dry, too hot. And I've got some peppers that are really happy and a couple of flowers that have done astonishingly well. But I have been pricing what it was going to cost for me to buy raised beds. Um, and if I scrounge the wood and stuff, we can do raised beds pretty darn cheap. Hey, Jonna. But if I do what I wanted to do, which was to buy raised bed units that are pretty and put those in, um, they're going to cost a little bit more than I want to spend right now. Uh, right, and our water bill was running about $100 a month. Actually, it was. I don't even think it was $100 a month. Maybe 1 month. But I gave up on the lawn. I wasn't trying to water the lawn at all. My son today wanted to buy a sprinkler, and I was like, no. When we put in irrigation, we'll do drip, so it's targeted to whatever I want to water, and no more. I'm not doing indiscriminate. Let's spray water in the air in Texas and watch it all evaporate.
Before it hits the ground.
Right. So, the problem with ugly raised beds is that where I want to put raised beds in the long term is front facing on the house because we have more front yard than we have backyard. So what I did instead was I bought giant grow bags, and these are these non-woven fabric things, and the ones I have will be about 2 feet deep. That are coming to me. So I bought these on Amazon, and they're like two for $25. I've got two coming that are 100 gallons, so they'll be about 4 feet in diameter. And I've got two that are coming that are 150 gallons, and they're actually still only about 4 feet in diameter, but they're taller than the 100 gallons. And those are going to go in the backyard. Yeah, no, I figure they're going to mold because they are going to be sitting on the ground. These are 1 season max two. Um, so concrete blocks is actually a thought, but and that's probably actually what I will do for one part of where I want to put beds because it's going to be a narrow bed since I want it alongside the driveway and I don't want it too close to the driveway, but I don't want it right up on the neighbor's fence either. So I'm going to have to do some measuring and figuring there. And the grow bags buy me some time because they're inexpensive. The dirt I put into them can get refreshed and used to fill proper raised beds because I'm so up until less than an hour ago, I had been planning on being gone all day tomorrow. Um and That's not happening now. So I will actually have tomorrow, but I have a con coming in 2 weeks. So I was looking at my time and going, okay, compromise between budget and time is let's do this. Yeah, plans change, stuff happens. Um, Stuff has happened. Johan and I spent a good chunk of the day running around doing errands, which included hitting the Lowe's clearance plant rack like a ton of bricks and spending more money than I probably should on plants. But I now have my first garden bed up front of the house. We got a couple of perennials and some little annuals, and I have a flower bed now. Because the garden around this house probably was nice at one point, but it hasn't been taken care of in at least 3 years and probably more like 4 or 5. So I have ground cover in places and a lot of weeds and a lot of baby trees. So I'm going to have to slowly pull out some objectionable bushes that are too close to the house and I don't like them anyway. And I'm going to have to get things I do like. I'd like to figure out what I can grow here. Um, Figs sprawl, Mom. And that's my concern with putting a fig in is that it's going to go and be all over my yard and I don't have the space for that. So I'm going to have to figure out if there's something that's got a more compact habit and we'll see how that goes. um Right, and that's the thing is I don't have the space for sprawling. I do want to there I can get some blackberries that are okay in this way. Yeah, watermelon won't work on the road because our road actually gets traffic on it differs. So, and I will have to do some research on the figs, see if I can do that. Um, I mean, we got a really good markdown on some nice looking plants today. So, and a bunch of herbs that'll go in the raised beds once I've got those set up next week. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's timing. It's just, uh, if it's not one thing, it's another. And which brings me to what happened. One of the things that we got today was on the list, was a plan, was Johan's ceiling fan needed to be replaced. It had stopped working. It had never worked quite right since we moved in. He was telling us that he'd turn on this, pull the pull switch, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And sometimes the fan would go one way and sometimes the fan would go the other way. And finally it just stopped working. And so he's had a box fan, but he's really been wanting a ceiling fan. So I told him that I would go ahead and get his ceiling fan and he could put it up. So I'm in here doing something, recovering from having dug holes and put in plants, probably. Um, and he comes in and he tells me that there has been a fire in his ceiling fan. So I was like, okay, we need to investigate this further. As it turns out, the ceiling fan had been badly installed. The fire had probably happened before we moved in, because he was telling me there was soot and ashes inside the unit of the ceiling fan. So that got investigated by Sanford, who knows a lot more about electric than I do. And he declared that it was just in the fan unit, it wasn't up into the ceiling fixture stuff. So the fan got disassembled and removed from the house, and the new fan got put up, and it's working nicely. It's much more, most of the fans in this house are drops from the ceiling, and this house has low ceilings. That doesn't really work. So we're going to replace all of them with flush mounts. They're not flush to the ceiling, but they're a lot shorter. They're not hanging way down. They're like at least so tall guy can walk under them without being scalped. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting day because while he was doing that, I had an appointment to go look at and possibly buy a chair. And so I went off to go look at the chair with the truck and also buy mulch while I was out with the truck and not make two trips. Um, so that was fine. Chairs going to be, now we have two chairs in the bedroom so we can sit and talk to each other in privacy. Uh, Milkweed, there's some native milkweeds. She can probably grow milkweed. There are milkweeds that are hardy all the way up way into northern New England, so I know she can do the hardiness. And there are native milkweeds in this area, so I'm pretty sure she should be able to grow them up there. Vining milkweed is fun and really cool looking. Milkweed smells amazing when it blooms, but so chair on board, head over to get the mulch. And the truck has intermittent electrical issues. This is a known issue. This is how I wound up with the truck. Um, and the truck has recently developed a additional electrical issue, and we have had it into the mechanic twice because the first time the mechanic was like, "Oh, I know what that was. I can fix it." Yeah. 3 days later, we take it back to him. He's like, "Oh, okay." And then he said, "Oh, I fixed it again." And that was a month or so ago. And it's been doing fine until today. On my way to pick up the mulch, I got to turn on the turn signal and nothing happens, which means the fuse has blown, which means that's the current electrical issue that's popping up. Is the fuse goes and that means I've got no brake lights. I can kind of sort of work around not having turn signals. You can do the whole arm signals out the window, although I can never remember which ones are which. Sanford knows them. I can't remember them. Um, so I get mulch on board because I was already there and buy more fuses for the truck. And I get home and I'm like, okay, let's try changing out the fuse in the truck because I'm supposed to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning to take this 3 hour trip down to see a friend and pick up some bookshelves and and then possibly as much as an 8 hour road trip tomorrow was the plan. Yeah. So we change out the fuse, and Johan is like, okay, I'm gonna hop in the truck and drive around for a little bit and make sure that it's um gonna work for you and you aren't gonna get down the road and have to turn around and come home. So he pulls out of the driveway and goes down to the corner of the road, and I didn't see it, but he basically turned right around and came back because the first time he put on the turn signal, it blew the fuse again. So the truck is going to the mechanic because it is not safe to drive. And because my son is working tomorrow, which is good, um, the truck has to go to the mechanic. He's going to have the car, and I am postponing my trip until I have two functional vehicles again. Um, I'm sorry, Differs. I have some. Johan left them on my desk for me. Too bad I can't just push them through the screen to you. Um, so the truck is becoming a mechanic queen, which I am not thrilled about.
What kind of snackies is Diffos wanting? Oh,
Reese's cup. There's more out there. Johan bought a whole big bag full. uh, I mean, it's life. Stuff happens. It's been one of those things of, well, yeah, they're single size serving peanut butter cups. And I have four of them. Ugh. Clover is great for no mo. The Dutch White, the dwarf, is a good version. Um, and that'll usually stay under your mo level. Um, yeah, Cedar's doing shots of sugar and chocolate and good rum in my Dr. Pepper. I have a garden. I'm happy about that. I have the stuff coming. We bought dirt today. We bought peat moss. Um, we've got this stuff coming for assembling the raised beds. I've already got straw at here. So I'm gonna do a variation on hugelkultur even in these grow bags. And we have a bunch of branches that we trimmed. So we'll cut those up a little bit more, and those will go in the bottom, and then I'll put a layer of straw, and then we'll do a mixed peat moss and topsoil. I bought some topsoil today, and we'll plant into that. So hi Mike, I'm glad you did catch it. We'll plant into the mixed topsoil and stuff, and then I'm gonna mulch it because I'm told that um here in Texas, mulching is really important. Um, and I actually, speaking of bunnies, Don, I'm hoping that by doing 2 foot raised beds, the bunnies that we have rambling around the backyard, in spite of multiple dogs running around, um, the raised beds will keep the bunnies out, or at least down to a minimum. You would think we have our dog, and then our neighbor's dog jumps the fence to come hang out with our dog, which is cute because they're best friends. Um, you would think we'd have less money, but no, we have bunnies, we have squirrels, we have all the things. But I'm going to do my best to have a little garden. I'm enjoying the whole concept of two garden seasons. And it's funny because I still need to buy the short season varieties that I grew up with. Growing in Alaska, there really was never a season where we couldn't have a frost. Usually you could manage to get through 60 days without a frost, and a little bit of cover at the ends would expand that into maybe 80 days. Um, and then when we went to New England, we had like a 90-day season, I think, something like that, maybe 100 days. Um, the season here is spring, which I'm going to have to adjust when spring starts, and fall. And you've got that summer in the middle, and then of course winter, because North Texas we do get frost and even snow. When we were house hunting, there was snow on the ground. So I'm figuring that if I do covers for the raised beds, that I should be able to expand my season a little bit. And we'll see. It's going to take me probably, it's going to take me years to adjust to gardening in Texas because this is such a different climate than I've ever handled before. I mean, it's fun because I'm growing the same varieties of whatever early girl tomatoes. Um, Juliet tomatoes have been highly recommended to me, which I find funny because that's one of my daughter's names. Um, and they're supposed to be really good, and they'll even bear well into summer. So, peppers do well here. I can do squash. I don't. There's a lot of problems with squash borers, according to the gardening. Oh yeah, no, Jim. I am having trouble adapting as it is. I mean, today, just from being out shopping, trying to go from store to store, I managed to get a sunburn because I didn't think to take a hat with me while I was going shopping. So, Don, that's a good thought. There's a couple of different things I can do. Uh, Ooh, that sounds like an excellent tomato there. Ian can have jalapenos. We just bought a plant today. I think the ones I currently have in the garden are serranos, though. So, vertical grow for squash, okay. I will. No, okay, so it's zucchini, so it's mounded. Um, that I have. I picked up a zucchini. I have no idea if I'll get it to fruit in time before frost, but um, right, and that's exactly what I was thinking about, Dawn, and I've done stuff like that before. Uh, Actually, if you shove a thing of rebar down and put your half-inch PVC on top of that, it also adds a little extra stability. Fence posts work as well, with a little arch on top of them. So there's several different options for me for oh gosh, I have no idea on the separation between peppers. I'm not planning on saving seeds right now. Maybe eventually. And zucchini, I know zucchini will spread. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna get to fruit. I figure I've got some seeds coming. I bought shorty carrots and shorty parsnips. It's an interesting variety. It's wide but short, so we'll see how that does in a raised bed. Um, Radishes, turnips, because I like really young, crisp turnips are super nice raw. You don't want to let them get too old because then they get that turnipy flavor that I don't know that anybody really likes that. Maybe somebody does, but I don't. But young, fresh turnips right out of the garden are just nice. Um, oh, sugar snap peas. I'm like, I know I bought something else. I can't remember what it was. Um, I've been told that, but when you think about how a fruit develops, the fruit is part of the parent plant and it develops. from the parent tissues. So the mixture of genetics affects the seeds and the next generation. So it, in theory, it shouldn't affect the fruit. I don't think. I, it's plants. Plants are strange when it comes to genetics. Gregor Mendel, when he did his genetic experiments, was actually happened to choose one of the simplest things to work with, which was sweet peas. And things like corn gets wild genetically. It's really interesting. Um, and well, that's kind of my plan. Is we're coming into cool weather. It's hot now still, although not nearly as hot as it was. But there's going to be a lot of cool weather coming, and that's what I'm planning for. Is having crops that will be relatively short season and that won't mind a uh cooling as the things go down. That's why I'm a little dubious about the, yeah, cabbage is one. I want to I don't know if I want to grow cabbage, but I probably will get it some kale seeds in, and I think I've got some mustard green seeds because I have seeds that I moved from Ohio, and I'm gonna have to evaluate those because I don't know what's gonna work. Um, so yeah, garlic is supposed to do really, really well here in Texas, and I'm looking forward to that, but it's not, that's a plant later thing, I think. Not sure on that one. That's a grow over winter, I think, in this area. Um, so yeah, coleslaw for us, coleslaw is cabbage, carrots, and radishes, and then various condiments to mix up once you've shredded everything. So yeah, there's lots of theories about things that can't hybridize and yet they manage because life finds a way. Right, and that's my plan, differs, is to plant things now for next year. And I'm thinking that I might want to see if any of the local nurseries have a couple of small fruit trees, because if I can plant them now, they'll establish well enough that they'll be able to overwinter, and then in the spring, they will be able to get their roots even more well developed before the summer heat hits. At least that's my plan, and I might be off base. Um, this coming Tuesday, I'm going to a naturalists meeting, the Master Naturalists group, and I'm gonna ask some questions of the people there because I figure they'll know. Um, and I need to figure out where the ag extension is and make contacts with them too because uh Kermit, if you could grow ammo on trees, people would be doing it. There would be forests of it. Oh, that would be an interesting synthesis of metals through the roots. You'd have to have a really mineral rich soil, or supplement, which kind of defeats the purpose. So, yes, differs. Tomatoes will not set fruit until the temperature drops below 90 degrees. Um, so, if the temps are consistently above 90 degrees, they will not set fruit. They'll bloom, but the blooms won't, they'll just drop. Um, so my plan is I'd like to get a hold of a couple of native Texas plums because I figure that they should do well. Um, I don't have space for persimmons because the Texas native persimmons are full-blown trees and the plums are a small, they're an undergrowth tree. And I'd like an apricot. Again, it stays fairly small. Peach would be nice. I don't think I have room for a peach. And peach have a bad habit of bearing really, really heavily, and they'll break themselves. So I think I want to go towards apricot because I like apricots. And oh, A gun belt and a big iron. It's probably not wrong because I'm gonna need something for when I'm hiking, but that's probably a different conversation.
The ton about a free
And
for a stranger one time day.
now you've got Sanford singing in the background. Um, so I know I can do blackberries here. I have been told that there are varieties of blueberries that do south, but I would have to mulch them with pine needles to keep them on the acid loving side. Sanford started singing because there's a song that has a
Big
lyric,
iron on his hip.
a big iron on his hip. Is that the name of the song, honey?
Big iron is the name of the
Oh,
song.
Big Iron is the name of the song. So that's what he was singing in the background. Um, hey, David. Oh, that sounds lovely. We are getting to the point where we have a little fire pit. Actually, Jim helped us buy it. Um, and we are getting to the point where we're actually going to be able to get some use out of that. It's not quite cool enough to do a fire just yet. Um, oh, good Lord. Yes, everybody knows Marty Robbins' Big Iron. And Jim is threatening me with holster and a hog leg. uh, I am just holding out hope that we can figure out what's going on with the truck and actually fix it this time instead of continuing to chase a ghost for however long it takes. Um, I mean, I was planning on using the truck for a really long road trip down to um, down to Corpus Christi to see my kids and get them some stuff. So the truck is blowing the fuse for the brake lights and turn signals. And we can tell that it has happened because when you click the thing for the turn signal, you don't get any noise. It usually goes click, 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 click. Well, if you flip the switch and no, there's no clicky, then the fuse is blown. And that happened to me as I was on my way home this evening. And the first time the mechanic was like, "Oh, it's a brake. There's a something to do with the brakes." I'm assuming with the brake wiring because I haven't been part of these conversations. Sanford's been dealing with the so it's not the silent blinkers that worries me so much as the fact that I have no brake lights when that happens. And you'll have somebody that's not paying attention that'll run right up on you. So it is not safe to drive. But it's uh we'll see with the truck because it has a known electrical issue. It has a dead man switch because it has a known electrical issue. And what I'm afraid is that the issue has gone from draining the battery when it's parked to now it's actively kicking back against this fuse and shorting it and kicking the fuse off. So right, and that's the problem with hand signals is that I'm afraid nobody's gonna be
Nobody can
um
see them.
is nobody's going to be paying attention to somebody waving their hand out the window. Because, like, I'm driving down the road today and I had a guy pulling a trailer in front of me and he had his hand out the window. And I thought he was making a signal at first. And no, he just was like doing the flapping his hand in the breeze kind of thing that you'll see people doing. Um, no, I am not doing hand signals on the highway. And tomorrow I was supposed to be driving down to the DFW area. No, not happening. Um, I am Oh, I will definitely go take a look at that, David. So I'm looking forward to having a fire here. It's just too dang hot. Oh, so um, yeah, I don't know that we have any automotive electrical guys close by. The electrical issue that the truck had before, the original owner of this truck spent several $1,000s trying to track it down and finally when he was faced with either replace the entire electrical harness, he had a dead man switch installed, and that was fine for years, up until just just after we moved up here, probably around June this year, it started to do this thing. So, meh, I mean, right, farm girl, again, with the, it's not the turn signals that worry me, it's the lack of brake lights. Well, the reason I was driving down with my truck is that I'm supposed to pick up bookshelves from my friend, and she's got 3 bookshelves for me. Otherwise, I'd have just been planning on driving my car all along. Of course, with the truck down and the boy needing to work tomorrow, I'm not going anywhere anyway. Uh, well, you would think that, Kermit, except for the fact that the electrical issue occurred when the truck was living in Louisiana, and then the truck lived in Texas, and then the truck came to live in Ohio after the issue was already a thing. Um, Don, I'm not sure that's any better. This is also a Ford F-150. I wonder if this is a thing. I mean, I do know that there are a number of acronyms that go with Ford: found on road dead, fix or repair daily. There's a bunch of other ones. Those are the two that just pop into my head. I The kid came home from work the other day, this weekend I think it was, asking about if we knew anything about a 2009 Toyota Camry. One of his coworkers is talking about possibly selling him a 2009 Toyota Camry. The problem with it is that there is something wrong with the rear battery. Well, come to find out that it could be one of two things. Some Camrys have a auxiliary 12-volt battery in the trunk, and some of the 2009 Camrys were actually the prototype hybrid vehicles. So until the kid has a chance this weekend to talk to his coworker friend and figure out just which of these it is, he is not going to commit to anything, because if it's the 12-volt battery, I think it's 100 or $200. If it's the prototype hybrid, it's they no longer make the battery for the hybrid battery. So if you can find one, it's been reconditioned and it's about $1,800. So the kid has to ask his coworker some more questions. The other thing the coworker didn't tell him was how many miles it has on it. And I'm like, I know a Toyota Camry will run freaking forever. Fine. But if it's got more than 200,000 miles on it, no, you may not buy it. Oh, he knows exactly what he needs. Yeah, no, if it's a hybrid, nope, walking away from that one. Not doing a hybrid. We have enough problem cars in the yard already. uh, I am not looking forward to having to replace my vehicle. Um, for since I've been driving, because I didn't get to start driving until after my divorce, but since I've been driving, I've always been able to pay cash for my vehicles. I had to at first. I didn't have the wherewithal to do a car loan. And it's kind of nice to not have a loan riding our backs. So we've always paid cash for vehicles. That's always been the way that Sanford has done it, and me. And sure, we don't have top end slick vehicles, but they usually get us from A to B. Um, we don't have kudzu here, David, unlike your neck of the woods. We do have a bestseller, Ben. We do indeed have a bestseller. Although I'm not technically an author in that one. That would be Kermit and Don, who are both in this chat, and Amanda, who's here earlier, and her mom is in there. So, so yeah, I don't want to do a car loan, but unfortunately, given the state of the used car market, I might not have a choice next vehicle we go after. And I'm looking at well over 200,000 miles on my car, and with the truck being iffy, I'm Don, you did good. I really liked your story. That's why I put it at the tail end of the book. It's a nice story to wrap up. Um, so yeah, Kermit, you can absolutely tell yourself a best-selling author. Yes, Mom. Grandma has actually a couple of her stories in this, and one of great grandma's stories, great grandma Ella's stories, is in this book. In volume two, which will come out on or slightly before, depending on how well I do with the formatting. But that one's supposed to come out October 1st. And hopefully we can make that one a bestseller too. But that one will have some of great granddad's stories in it. And I think another story from grandma, actually. I think I'm putting stories from her into both of them. There's going to be a couple of people that have stories in both. Jim has stories, and um, Ian Kermit's got two because he got me another one. Thank you for that, Kermit. Um, I don't remember who else got two in, but there's a few. Uh, I'm not sure I've ever actually lived in the mountains. I've lived near the mountains. Um, that doesn't sound good, Don. That sounds like you probably should go ahead and find somebody that'll buy it no matter what. Uh, I was in the shadow of the Alaska Range when we lived up there. Down in the Tanana River Valley, which is flat, very flat. Probably as flat as where I live now, only more trees, so you couldn't tell us much.
Those are not trees, those are bushes.
uh-uh. White spruce, black spruce, and birch. None of those, or aspen, probably more than birch. Um, I thought that's what you were doing, Don. Just, I had to put my 2 cents in. It's not necessary, but sometimes. Yes. I mean, if we drive a little bit north of where we live now, we can see the Wichita Mountains. And that was my husband laughing in the background. Because the Wichita Mountains were, well, they make a nice little bump on the horizon. So it depends on what part of Texas you're in, David. This part of Texas, we actually have a fair amount of trees. I mean, I've got a yard full of trees here. Um, but the forest, the boreal forest where I lived in Alaska, is thick. I mean, so thick it's actually difficult to walk through unless you're on a path. Um, yes, topography. Topography is nice. And I mean, if you go much west of where we live right now, it gets real flat. And then I'm like, see, where we live is not completely flat. Because if you go over to southern Oklahoma, is flat, is tabletop flat. Well, if you get up to Alaska and you're driving, you will go through Tok. I haven't been there in 30 years now. Wow, not quite that long, but close. Um, it's funny. I was comparing notes with the handkerchief, Brennan, and we're almost a generation apart in age. I am probably 15 years older than he is, and he and I have lived in a lot of the same places, which is interesting. Um, because he was writing a story about caribou hunting, and that'll come out in volume two, and it's a good one. And I was like, "Oh, hey, that made me homesick," and he's like, you were up there. And I'm like, I know exactly where you were. Because I too have hunted caribou off that road. My phone is sending me notifications. Oh, thank you, Tam. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun to have the kids. I mean, we didn't have the house baby proofed, but fortunately, Differs and Kermit have wonderful children, very well behaved. So I didn't have to worry about them finding outlets that they shouldn't have that weren't covered up. We went around and tried to get all the outlet covers on, and I realized today that we had missed one. It's in my bedroom, but still. The summit was 50 feet high. Ha.
You were talking about hunting earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember, the worst caliber for deer is Honda Civic.
uh, Actually, Kermit, that's really cool, going border to border in the Rockies. Um, yes, and I need to get an amount from you, farm girl, because I know if I'm coming up, I'm on the hook for some beef. So, yes, the husband is topless. It's hot. Um, and I mean, if you bothered, I could tell him to put a shirt on. But I think he's gone outside to sit on the porch, so he probably won't be back in for the rest of the live stream because I'm only on for about another 10 minutes. Subaru is also not a good caliber for deer. If I had to hit a deer with either of my two vehicles, if I had to, because I don't want to, but if I had to, I definitely would pick the F-150 and not my thing. Farm girl, if I'm gonna come up and hang out, I want to make it easier on y'all. That's the least I can do. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can bring food to this one because it's a long drive. I was so. It'll just be me, farm girl. Um, Johan's working and has school, and Sanford is gonna be here holding down the fort as the adult in charge. Um, yeah, F-150 is a terrible caliber for cow, right? A moose, don't you don't want to do a moose. Moose tall legs, they come right through the windshield. Not good, not good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll talk to Dawn offline. Um, about it. I got Dawn had invited me, and then Jim and Peter and Dorothy. Well, actually, this last Sunday it was actually just Jim and Peter and I for Sunday breakfast, which was kind of odd. But we talked about it, and they both offered to have me carpool up with them, which is probably better given the state of the vehicles right now. And Jim's like, "Oh, it's a 6 hour drive," and Peter's like, "The way you drive it is." Oh, I got to explain Fluffy Yeet Cow to my son today. That was funny. He actually thought it was a really interesting idea. He's not interested in writing for it because he's been dabbling with writing some fiction, but he liked the idea, and I think that when the anthology comes out, I'll buy him a copy and hand it to him. Um, yeah, Kermit or a pilot. He drives like a pilot because I've ridden with some pilots before. Oh no, I'm actually looking forward to coming up. That'll be really nice to get to meet you in person, Dawn, and get to meet your mom. Um, Crown Vic. I had a Crown Vic briefly. I never drove it. I owned it, but I never drove it because I didn't have a license. So I bought the vehicle, and then my ex was driving it until I don't remember what happened with it. We wound up getting rid of it for whatever reason. Might have been because it was a gas hog, because it was an old Crown Vic, and it had been a police car. You could tell it was black and white, and there was a scratched off emblem on the doors. And we put a roof rack on that thing, and you come up behind someone in the dark, and they would slow the heck down because it looked a little like a light bar. Oh, the Yeet Cow stuff, you'll want to look on Ian's blog. So, lawdogfiles.com. I'll put a link in the show notes underneath when the video loads too. Um, the Ian just posted the deadlines for all of the anthologies. Um, Kermit, this was like a 1980s because I bought it in 1996. And it might have been 20 years old. It might have been as old as I was when I bought it. Um, but right, it was probably just as well I didn't learn how to drive in that monster. Oh gosh. Yes, no, hard deadlines for and Ian's just posted those. So, if you are considering submitting to any of the Raconteur Press anthologies, which are the ones that Ian is the figurehead for Raconteur Press, and Courtney is his right-hand man. Um, so you need to go take a look at those deadlines and pay attention to them. Submit early if you can. That's really the best way to do it. I know I've got to buckle down and grind out a few thousand words and start getting some stories off to him. So, yeah, and I think he said that he's got submission guidelines as far as like formatting. Um, I talked to Courtney about it the other day, and her feedback on that was as long as it's a docx file. But Ian's thing, and it's a really good point, whenever you're submitting a story anywhere, to Ian, to me, to anybody, what you want to do is set up a header inside your document. And in that header should be your name at a bare minimum. So you want to have your name in the header and preferably also the name of the story in the header. And if you get those two things in the header in the document, or in the document if you can't figure out headers, then you are golden. Because the problem is that we get stories in that have generic names that don't have anybody's name in the document. And so when you download a document, it gets detached from the original email that it came from. And if the story is, I don't know, I'm going to make up something. It's called Fight Story. Let's call it that. So if the story is titled Fight Story, and there's no other identifying information that goes with it, and it's a fight anthology, so 6 people submit a story titled Fight Story. First of all, the editor is going to come back to you and say, uh, you need to change the title, or can I change the title if you can't come up with one? And second of all, it's going to get lost and they're not going to know who it is. And so they're not going to accept it because they don't know who to send the contract to, let alone sending money or whatever. And I mean, I know when I did the hunting anthology, I got 3, I think, stories called Fish Story. Somebody had to have their name changed. So, okay, Jim is pointing out that it should be well, okay, this is for Jim's formatting because not everybody does this. Double spaced, Times New Roman, 12 point. Make sure that you have your name, address, anthology title, and story title in it. You know, cover pages are a really good idea, Differs, and a lot of people don't do them, and they really should do them. I know when I take stories, I strip all the formatting out. So honestly, it doesn't matter to me how you send them to me formatted. And I would prefer them not to be double spaced because that I'm going to have to strip too. The one thing I will say is that you will make everybody's life easier if you don't use, there's a special paragraph break character. I don't want to see that. That one's a pain in my tush because I've got to actually go in and manually remove all of those. And even in a short story, there's like 85 of them. No, don't do it. Just hit the enter button. If you're using show invisibles, then you will see that nice little paragraph that looks like a P. That's the symbol I want to see. Right. That is the actual formatting if you submit to publishers. And I think Bain has a page somewhere where it has detailed guidelines on standard manuscript format. And just because some of us smaller publishers can be flexible doesn't mean that everybody's going to be flexible. So your best practice is to learn if you're going to submit to more than just like Ian and I mean, I understand, but your best practice is to learn what standard manuscript format is and write in it. And the other thing too is that some people want the double spaced after periods, other people don't. That can be stripped out too. There, you can actually do find and replace with invisibles to strip out the formatting. Um, No, I know it, Jim. I know. And if I were going to be doing this more, I would have to be more of a hard ass. Um, and I totally get that being flexible would become a major issue if I were doing more of this. But right now, my plan is to do the second hunting anthology, which I've already got all the stories for. That one's done. I need to, if I get enough entries to do a second PTSD anthology, because we'll see. Um, Don, I had yours was a clean manuscript. I had no issues with yours. Um, but I'm done with it. I can't do any more anthologies. Okay. I'm not gonna say never, but it is not gonna be three in a year again. I can't. I just don't have the energy or the headspace, and there's too many other things in my life going on. Eh, I mean, you should do some formatting, Kermit. It's really hard to read a wall of text. uh, it's a lot of work. I think probably tomorrow I'm going to be writing a basic how-to anthology for Mad Genius Club, but honestly, it should be a lengthy workshop. Um, there's some plotting behind the scenes about doing some um that's one way to do it, Jim. Um there's some plotting behind the scenes to do some instructional stuff on basically indie publishing, and we're probably going to get into the nitty gritty of doing anthologies. And not from my end, you're not hearing it, Mom. It's a clear blue sky out there right now. um okay, good, Jim. All right, you guys are going to cover it. I'm going to cover it on Mad Genius because it's written format, and if you guys do it in the spoken format, then we'll at least get the preliminaries out. And I think all of us have different experiences and insights, so the more we do of it, I think the better. Um, I'm going to have to get with Courtney, and we're going to talk about some other stuff too, because well, stay safe, Mom. Hopefully, you guys don't get too much of a storm. Yeah, that's true. I will be there Thursday. I mean, if that's the day you're going to talk about it, I can't make it on Tuesdays, though. Tuesday, the day I was there, was a special occasion. I had to take off some time from work for that one. Thursdays happen after I'm done with work for the day, so. Oof. And I'm looking at the time, and I have run over an hour, so it's good to talk to you guys. Kermit, there's always replay, so even if you can't catch the live, which admittedly it's a lot more fun live when you can participate in the chat, but there's comments, and you can always catch the replay and laugh your head off us later. I've done that a few times when I couldn't catch Jim and Ian live, come back and watch them later and usually wind up laughing my head off. So that's always nice. But that's why I listen to them. They leave me feeling happy after I've been listening to them for an hour, which is a good thing sometimes. So, have a good night, folks. I will see you all next week. Um, yeah, no, my chat doesn't try to break me, Jim. Much, often. No, I don't have the audience you guys have. I have a small audience. It's really nice. So, yes, I came for Teacup Humans and Emily and Kermit. So, well, folks, thank you for coming. I do appreciate all of you. It's not a big audience, but it's my audience, and I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad that you guys seem to enjoy it because you come back again. So, I will talk to you all next week. Bye now.